Hi there, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Al Pawlowski, joined by the athletic director for Cleveland State, Scott Garrett. And Scott, it is great to see you, even if virtually. Been an interesting summer for sure. How have you been doing?
A summer unlike any other, right? We're taking it day by day. I think probably by the time we record and put this out, things will have changed again in our world as they have over the last few weeks and months. But it's great to see you. I've seen you virtually as the season gets started in Major League Baseball, and it's certainly fun to see the Indians taking the field here and hopefully be able to get all 60 games in and give us something to entertain ourselves over the next couple months.
Yeah, certainly. That would be great. It's nice to have baseball back, and hopefully we get the season in and we have a great October as well. And speaking of October, Scott, this kind of plays in with a lot of what we want to talk about today. First up is the strategic CSU 2.0 strategic plan that President Harlan Sands announced. Tell us a little bit more about that, Scott, and how athletics fits into that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So CSU 2.0, as announced by President Sands over the last few weeks, and then the individual work groups that were forwarded in an announcement last week, really are an opportunity for us to reimagine CSU's future and what should CSU look like. And there are 5 work groups that comprise the full CSU 2.0 strategic initiative. They include academics, administration, diversity and inclusion, growth and innovation, and then obviously athletics. And our work groups are tasked with creating an actionable plan really to study different areas of the university, in this case athletics, and make sure that our strategic priorities from a unit perspective calibrate and align with the university's approach, and then make sure that we're making the right investments to become even stronger in the future. And so in our case, I'll lead our work group with the help of Mike Alden of MRJ Advisors. He's the former athletics director at University of Missouri, and he spent time here last fall and winter assisting CSU with the athletics director search and some study of the athletics department leading into my appointment. Tyler Jones, our deputy athletics director, is also a part of that committee, and we've got 3 outstanding faculty members, our faculty athletics rep and Dr. Rob Kleidman, a couple faculty senate representatives, and Dr. Jeff Bolt and Dr. Karen McIntyre, a student affairs administrator, Tamika Rashid, and a student athlete, Hallie Shane from women's volleyball, who's our student athlete advisory council president, and then finally a community member, Annie McCartney, who's the president of Bowden Manufacturing in Willoughby. And that group, over the next couple months, will do a lot of work and a lot of study and a lot of brainstorming on what are recommendations that myself as the group's leader make to President Sands and to the CSU board in terms of what CSU athletics should look like moving forward. So we're really just getting that process kicked off. We've got a great group of folks that are really smart and that are doing a lot of good work on behalf of CSU in their respective areas, and I'm looking forward to their counsel and what we do moving forward to make those recommendations.
So, Scott, with the CSU 2.0, how does that relate to the strategic plan, and how are we looking at that going forward?
Yeah, Al, as we've talked about before on these interviews, the department has developed an updated athletic strategic plan in a process that took place between May of last year and up through a couple months ago when we paused. We developed a department mission, some guiding principles, and then some really comprehensive, actionable steps that our department can take moving forward. The pandemic has given us pause in finishing that process, and now with the 2.0 study taking place, I think it's important for us to evaluate whether those steps and strategies in that plan align with whatever the future recommendations are of the CSU 2.0 work group. So it is important that we let people know what our mission and goals are. And so, our promise of providing CSU student athletes with that transformational experience, investing in their development as people and students and athletes, and then our 5 overriding department goals, which include complementing and enhancing CSU's mission, attracting and supporting a diverse team of student athletes, coaches, and staff, developing sustainable support from the CSU and Cleveland community, bolstering pride in CSU athletics through our communications plan, and then embracing an atmosphere of compliance, integrity, ethical conduct, and transparency. All of those will serve as some guardrails and a guiding principles for the work group that's doing that 2.0 work, and ultimately forwards our recommendations to President Sands and the CSU board. We won't go beyond that at this point. We've got a ton of work that we've laid out that we feel like is the right direction, right? But we want to make sure we balance and test that against whatever the 2.0 work group. So you'll see if you go to csuvikings.com, we do have listed our mission and goals, but the actionable steps and strategies that we have to actually deliver those goals moving forward will really sync up with the 2.0 plan later in the fall.
And that's a great place to go to, csuvikings.com. And of course, you can follow CSU Athletics on Twitter, on Facebook. So those are good places too to keep up with what's been happening with CSU Athletics. Speaking of that, Scott, so on October 1st, that's the date that's been set by the Horizon League member schools, including Cleveland State. Fall sports have been postponed until at least then. Things will be reevaluated again. Tell me a little bit about how Cleveland State Athletics now fits into that. You've got the October 1st start date, so athletes want to come in, they want to work out, or are they able to do that? There's a lot that goes into it, so take it apart a little bit piece by piece as we look at that October 1st date.
Sure. So back earlier in late spring and through early summer, we had a group that we call our Resocialization Committee, led by Deputy AD Kelsey Gorey-Harkey, and that group developed a plan for us to have students onboarded, those teams throughout late summer. So originally the plan was to have some of our teams start to report a couple weeks ago, our fall sports, including volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and cross country, and have them report over the month of June into early August. With the delay, ultimately with the delay that we and other Horizon League institutions forwarded for a start of October 1st, that gave us a little bit more time for our individual institutions across the conference to be ready. It also gave us some time to analyze what's happening from a national landscape perspective. So we've seen some conferences elect to delay fall sports entirely and move those into the spring, particularly at the Division II and Division III levels, and some at the Division I level. And we'll continue to read those tea leaves and respond to national adjustments, particularly if the NCAA moves fall championships. Obviously, that would really propel a decision from a conference or an institutional standpoint with those individual sports. And so right now, as of July 28th, our plan is that our student athletes will move in to Cleveland, either off campus or on campus, over the course of that week prior to school starting in late August. The university will deliver about 50% of our classes in person and the other half remotely online. And so we're encouraging student athletes to get here to Cleveland that week prior, be ready for the first day of school on August 24th. And then between now and then, we'll have developed calendars for each of our individual sports in terms of what their workout plan will look like. And those will be a ramp up of activities. So they'll start with a period of strength and conditioning, done in a physically distanced way, and then at some point we'll evolve them into skill instruction practices and individual workouts before for our medium and high contact sports, getting them into full contact practices. And what those dates look like remain a little bit to be seen. They'll depend on what the fall calendar looks like from the NCAA and from our conference on those sports, and then ultimately what the conditions are here in Cleveland from a medical guidance perspective from our PRT team on campus and also our partners at the Cleveland Clinic.
Well, and with that, Scott, too, talking about different things that are happening around campuses, we got 2 new members in the Horizon League. So with Robert Morris and Fort Wayne joining the conference, those two have really, especially I think Robert Morris, that's a wonderful addition. You bring in the Pittsburgh market, but tell me what went into adding those 2 schools and how that now will affect the Horizon League landscape.
Yeah, last fall, the Horizon League invited Purdue-Fort Wayne after considering their membership and all that they bring to the table And then Robert Morris will also join the league, and that one materialized pretty quickly here in the spring. And our Athletics Directors Council and ultimately the Horizon League Board evaluated those two institutions and what they bring academically, what they bring from a geographic footprint perspective, what they bring from an athletic perspective, especially around men's basketball. Both institutions have strong men's basketball programs that we think help the profile of our league in terms of competitiveness moving forward. I certainly look forward to working with my colleagues, Kelly Harley Hutton at Fort Wayne, and Chris King, who I've known for quite some time as we've navigated our way through the industry at Robert Morris. I've enjoyed working with both of them so far, especially in our discussions on how do we get fall sports and our sport season started. A lot of good work has gone in by all of the ADs across the conference in light of the pandemic, and our league is stronger with those two institutions as part of the conference. So we're looking forward to visiting their campuses and welcoming them to Cleveland in the near future.
As far as travel partners go, Scott, that changes things up quite a bit. Robert Morris and Youngstown State are natural travel partners, but so is Cleveland State and Youngstown State. As far as Fort Wayne goes, they almost seem a natural with either Detroit or Oakland or IUPUI. So now that kind of it changes things. Would it be, could we see maybe a three-team pool of travel partners? I mean, obviously in the East, you'd see like CSU, YSU, RMU. Would you stay with two, or do travel partners get eliminated altogether?
Yeah, we're working through all the mechanics of the various schedules. Some of that answer depends on the sport and which institutions across the conference sponsor each of the individual sports. So you may not see it look exactly the same in every single sport. We're working on men's and women's basketball schedules now. I think we've landed on a good place at the moment for 2020-21 in terms of scheduling. I don't know that that's what it'll look like moving forward. Obviously, the late addition of Robert Morris, as well as the pandemic situation, probably leads us to just a one-year window of what the calendars will look like for these sports, and then we'll really put some thought into sort of strategically what that should look like across the league moving forward. So we look forward to continuing to participate in that discussion. But ultimately, for us, in most of our sports, they're really good opponents that aren't that far away, that we are playing in some of our sports already, so there's familiarity, and we welcome the competitive challenge of taking that on here in the near future.
Yeah, some nice additions to the Horizon League for sure. Scott, let's come back to Cleveland State and a couple of things to talk about here. First of all, the Victory Lap program and a ton of academic success with the athletes. We talked about the men's basketball team and how many players are on the dean's list, which has been wonderful. But this Victory Lap program, Scott, what is it and what makes it unique?
Yeah, so you might recall back in the spring, as those sports were canceled, men's and women's golf, men's and women's tennis, track and field, softball, lacrosse, we had around 25 seniors that cancellation resulted in their missing their senior season. So 14 of those seniors, as we worked through, who might want to come back and try again, 14 of those 25 will enroll in 2020-21. They'll enroll in either a certificate program or a second undergraduate major, or many of them will begin graduate school in one of our colleges, and they'll give their final season a shot, but also continue their academic journey here at Cleveland State. So we're fortunate to be able to provide an opportunity to do that. The investment we calculate to be around $175,000 to provide the aid to that group of 14. We're fortunate to work with the CSU Foundation and identify some endowment reserves that were specified for athletics. And we've also had some folks step up to assist with funding those scholarships. And so certainly fans can go to csuvictorylap.com for more information on that. And they will take contributions to help those efforts to provide this last chance for students to compete and also to continue their academic journeys.
And you're going to have a graduate assistant position in the athletic department as well, correct?
That's right. So most graduate programs, somebody's entering a graduate program, it takes 2 academic years to finish through that program. And so rather than those students be on the hook for that second year, we've committed that anybody that enrolls in graduate school finishes out their final season, that second year of graduate school, we will continue to fund, and then they'll work in some administrative role in the department, whether that's in marketing and sponsorships or tickets, or our student services side and academics or compliance. We'll find a role that fits sort of what they're looking to do from a career perspective. It might be a couple of different areas, but that doesn't that allows them to make a commitment to grad school and not feel like they're on the hook financially for that second year.
So with that, as you mentioned, the number 175,000 funding this, there's other expenditures the athletic department has, and you always want to grow CSU athletics as well. The Viking Fund for this campaign coming up, 2020, 2021, there's a lot of places that money could be spent well, correct?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We launched the Viking Fund, which was really our first attempt, I think, at CSU in a long time at developing funds that are unrestricted, that give us the latitude to invest across the broad spectrum of our programs, not specifically to individual sports. I would call our first year a success. We had over 100 members. We generated nearly $100,000 in support. And that is an area that we really, moving forward, will continue to need to grow. And our campaign for this year, 2020-21, most of the materials will be sent out to folks in August. So we're looking forward to the renewal of those 100+ members, and then growing that moving forward. That fund will continue to assist our efforts, Al, in providing financial aid and all of the student athlete services that we provide, whether that's travel for competition, equipment, nutrition, academic services. Any dollars that we grow into that Viking Fund are really important for us to delivering on that transformational experience and remaining competitive at our level in Division I athletics.
Yeah, and I can say too, from being at that pregame meal that's there and just visiting with people, it's a great way to have some fellowship too with other CSU Viking fans and alumni, and really a great way to give back. So again, it's csuvikings.com. And Scott, if they want to contact you directly about it, they could do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of our development team, myself, Bob Heller, Brandon Longmire, Tyler Jones, or the folks over in the foundation, and Julie Reams' team can certainly help make one of those commitments possible and get them to the right place in our athletics program to help both from whatever the donor is passionate about, but also the needs that we have in our individual sport programs. And those memberships do come with some benefits, including the hospitality that you mentioned. I would just remind folks that, regardless of whether we deliver a basketball season that looks the same as it has traditionally, it'll probably look a little bit different, and we'll know more about that in the coming weeks and months. But regardless, if that opportunity isn't there, we'll find ways to recover benefits or offer benefits that make up for anything that maybe looks a little different in the future. Ultimately, we want that to be a philanthropic gift that donors are providing because they're passionate about our mission of providing that student athlete experience, not just for the benefits they receive, but it allows for engagement with our coaches and student athletes and staff along the way, which we're excited about.
Absolutely. And Cleveland State is really delivering CSU athletics on its mission too. It's, you get some great athletic competition at the Division I level, and the kids are doing great in the classroom. Some of the numbers here: for the first time in school history in the spring semester, all 18 of Cleveland State's varsity programs posted a GPA of 3.0 or higher. I mean, that's incredible to have that sort of thing happen. Set a new school record for term GPA 3.66, which is, that's outstanding. So we're turning out some pretty smart kids here, and some kids that are not only committed on the athletic field, but also committed in the classroom.
Yeah, we thought we were doing pretty good when we set the record in the fall with like a 3.3 or so, and then to really shatter it in the spring with a 3.66. Obviously, with an adjustment from spring break forward to fully remote learning over the last 4 weeks or so of the semester, for our student athletes to remain focused and committed and finish out the semester the right way. We also had men's tennis and women's soccer, which were honored for the top male and female team GPAs in our department through the Horizon League Raise Your Sights Award, which is given annually to the top teams in each athletics department. And then 105 of our students last week were named to the Horizon League Spring Honor Roll. And so we're doing all the right things from an academic perspective. We're excited about the trajectory there. They are definitely students first and athletes second. And I think that all of those statistics go to show that our student athletes take that commitment very seriously and have the full support of our coaches and our support staff in that effort.
Yeah, 105 Cleveland State University student athletes named to the Horizon League Spring Honor Roll too, which is also an incredible number when you think about it. So Cleveland State has done a wonderful job with that. And Scott, what else should we be looking for here? Pardon the pun, on the horizon. Exciting that's coming for Cleveland State and the Horizon League.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot. We've got the 2.0 recommendations in that study moving forward. Hopefully student athletes getting back on campus sometime in the next month, and then be on the lookout for continued news on what we're doing from a competitive perspective. Stay tuned to csuvikings.com and our social media channels. The team's doing a great job of sharing what's happening in each of our programs, even when we're working with our teams and student athletes remotely. And if you're interested, please do consider either a gift at csuvictorylap.com or the Viking Fund at csuathletics.com/Viking Fund.
That sounds great, Scott. I got people already asking me about the CSU men's basketball team. They're excited about it. They're so excited about what happened and looking forward to this year and the years coming with Coach Dennis Gates and some of the kids that are here and then some of the recruits that we've gotten in. So there's a buzz around town about this Cleveland State men's basketball team, which is great to see. And it's something, maybe a buzz that we haven't had in a number of years around town. So I think Cleveland State Athletics and the men's basketball team and everybody, really, the women's team did a great job last year, really representing the city and the university quite well.
Yeah, we really look forward to women's basketball continuing on the success that they had last year, which include that team record 11-game winning streak early in the season. And then on the men's side, to have a top 100 recruiting class, one of the top couple recruiting classes, depending on the analyst in the Horizon League. We're really excited about the group that's coming in, joining those returning student athletes. Coach Gates and his staff have been remarkable in their efforts to really engage the campus community and build support for men's basketball and athletics, all of our sport programs. And we look forward to hopefully at some point in the near future putting folks in Wolstein and continuing to grow that attendance in the building and the support around the men's basketball program. Well, they'll have a lot to be excited about moving forward.
Scott, thanks for your time today. Let's do it again soon. And as Coach Gates likes to say, go Vikes.
Go Vikes.